Neuroscience proves yourself is an illusion. That little voice in your head you think of as you, the one that's reading these words right now. What if I told you it's an illusion? Not some philosophical riddle, but a scientifically observable mirage cooked up by your brain. We're going to look at the hard neuroscience that shows yourself isn't what it seems, and what can happen when you learn to see through the trick. Section 1. The foundation, the feeling of you. We all have it. That constant, solid feeling of being a single person. An unchanging I that lives somewhere behind our eyes, pulling the levers and thinking our thoughts. We might call it the self, the ego, or even the soul. It's the main character in the movie of our life. The one who was there in our earliest memories. The one experiencing this right now, and the one who will be there tomorrow. We just feel like we're a unified, continuous being. This sense of self is so powerful and familiar, it feels more real than anything. And evolutionarily, it's been a huge advantage. Having a stable identity helps us navigate a ridiculously complex social world. It lets us make plans for the future, remember our friends, and build a personal story that gives our life a sense of meaning. Your brain basically created this you character as a handy user interface for the messy, complicated stuff happening under the hood. But what if this feeling of a solid, continuous self is just a brilliant trick of the mind? A story our brain generates for our own benefit? What if neuroscience could show us that when we go looking for this central I, there's actually no one home? Section 2. The revelation, the scientific evidence. And this is where it gets wild. For decades, neuroscientists have been using tools like fMRI to search for the self center in the brain. They've been trying to pinpoint the one spot, the little command module that is you, and they have consistently come up empty. There is no you spot. Instead, what scientists have discovered is that the feeling of being a self is a dynamic process, an ongoing story built by a network of different brain systems all working in concert. One of the most mind-bending pieces of evidence comes from split-brain patients. To treat extreme epilepsy, some patients have the bundle of nerves connecting their brain's two hemispheres, the corpus callosum, severed. The result is that the two halves of the brain can no longer talk to each other directly, leading to some bizarre but revealing experiments. Neuroscientist Michael Gazzaniga ran landmark studies where he'd flash an image to only the patient's right hemisphere, say, the command walk. Since the language center is usually in the left hemisphere, the patient couldn't say what they saw. But a moment later, they'd get up and start walking. When Gazzaniga asked them why they were walking, the left hemisphere, which had no clue about the walk command, would instantly invent a reason. The patient might say, "I'm going to get a Coke." That's the left brain interpreter in action. Gazzaniga found that this function is always running, trying to create a coherent story out of all our fragmented thoughts and actions. It proves that our sense of being a rational person, making conscious choices, is often a story we tell ourselves after our brain has already acted. And this storyteller isn't just for medical cases. It's running in your brain right now. It's powered by a set of brain regions called the default mode network, DMN. The DMN lights up when we're not focused on the outside world, when we're daydreaming, thinking about the past or future, or thinking about ourselves. Essentially, the DMN is the brain's autobiographical narrator. It's the engine that generates the story of I, me, and mine. This is why we have the self-reference effect. We remember things way better when they relate to our own story. So if the self is a story told by our DMN, what's the story about? It's a story about a body and all its sensations. And here's the final twist. Even that isn't direct. Recent research from early 2026 shows that specific alpha brainwaves in our parietal cortex are constantly working to define the very boundary between your body and the outside world. These brainwaves help determine how your brain processes sensory signals to create a sense of body ownership. Every sight, sound, and feeling is just your brain's interpretation of electrical signals. You're effectively blind for up to 2 hours a day as your eyes move, but your brain fills in the gaps, creating a seamless reality. The self is the same kind of construction. It's a useful, deeply convincing illusion, but an illusion all the same. Section 3. The Resonance, Ancient Wisdom and Modern Psychology. The wildest part? This new discovery from neuroscience is actually a rediscovery. It's a core insight from ancient contemplative traditions, especially Buddhism. For over 2,500 years, Buddhist philosophy has been built around the concept of anatta, or no self. Anatta teaches that there is no permanent, unchanging, independent self. What we think of as us is just a temporary mashup of constantly changing parts: our body, feelings, perceptions, thoughts, and consciousness. As philosopher and neuroscientist Evan Thompson says, the brain and body are in constant flux. There's nothing that actually corresponds to our feeling of an unchanging self. The belief that we are the same person moment to moment is a powerful delusion. This doesn't mean you don't exist. It means you aren't a thing. You're a process. And clinging to the idea of a fixed self is seen as a root cause of our suffering. It fuels our ego, our attachments, and our anxiety about protecting something that isn't even there. Modern psychology is finally catching up. Therapies like acceptance and commitment therapy, ACT, use what's called cognitive diffusion, the practice of watching your thoughts and feelings without getting tangled up in them. It teaches you that your thoughts are just mental events, not the definition of you. It's a direct application of that ancient wisdom to improve mental health. Experiences of ego dissolution, which can happen during deep meditation or in psychedelic therapy, are linked to a quieting of the default mode network. When that self-storytelling machine goes offline, the feeling of being a separate self can just dissolve. Section 4. The Liberation. So, what's the point? Okay, so if there's no me, then what's the point of anything? Am I just a biological robot? Are my choices meaningless? It's a totally fair question, but reframing the idea is where the power is. Seeing through the illusion of the self isn't depressing, it's liberating. It doesn't mean you disappear. It means you aren't the limited, fixed character you thought you were. You are not your past failures. You are not the negative stories your inner narrator loves to repeat. You are not trapped in a rigid identity. The constant you that you feel is a story, and the brain can learn to tell a different one. Think about it. If the self is a process, it means you're never truly stuck. Change isn't just possible. It's the fundamental nature of who you are. Every single moment is a new arrangement of thoughts, feelings, and awareness. Realizing there's no fixed doer behind your actions doesn't erase them. It reveals that life is flowing through you. This can bring incredible psychological freedom. When you stop taking your thoughts so personally, they have less power to make you suffer. When you realize that the anxious, self-critical voice in your head is just a pattern firing in your default mode network, you can stop treating it like gospel. You can just notice it, let it pass, and bring your focus back to what's actually happening right now. You aren't the unchanging statue in the center of your life. You're the river. Your thoughts, feelings, and experiences are just the water flowing through. and that water is always changing, always moving. Recognizing this doesn't destroy you. It reveals that you are something far more vast, dynamic, and full of potential than you ever imagined. Conclusion. So that voice in your head isn't the real you. It's a story, masterfully told by your brain to help you get by. Neuroscience shows there is no single self, only a dynamic process. And ancient wisdom suggests that seeing this clearly is the key to real freedom. This isn't about denying your experiences, your values, or your ability to love. Those are all real. This is about realizing that you are not limited to the story you've been telling yourself. You're the author, and you can start a new chapter anytime you want. What does this idea bring up for you? Is it scary, liberating, or a bit of both? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this trip into the mind, subscribe for more deep dives into the biggest ideas in science and philosophy. Thanks for watching.